Good morning, it's Deirdre here from lookatwhatimade.net, and today I would like to show you how to make a white daisy. It's part of a bouquet I'm making, three-dimensional bouquet that I am attaching to a hoop and will be hanging on my wall. So for this tutorial I'm using my 4mm Clover Amour hook. Look at my sparkly nails. And I'm using Yarn Smith's Pebble Haze DK. I'm going to, well, this is just to show you the ball band. I will be using yellow amber and marble. I'll put a link to the tools I'm using as well as a link to the pattern on my website, which includes the written pattern, which includes charts, in the description below. So I'll be using US terms. Yes, I'll be using US terms, and the only special stitch we have is a surface slip stitch, which is basically just slip stitches made into your work. So to start with round one, I'm going to be using the yellow amber, and I'm going to work into a magic ring. So I usually use, oh, I've got a bruise. I usually use a double magic ring, but you can also use a single magic ring. So to do a double magic ring, you put in your yarn with the tail end towards your pinky, twice around those fingers, and then overlap, hook under and scoop through. And then we are going to chain 3, which will count as our first double crochet, and we are working over 3 strands, so the working end should be to this side. Into that same magic ring we're going to do 15 DCs. Started raining now. Four and 5. Nobody. That's 10. And 15. So before we join, we're going to close the magic ring, and it's like a hose pipe, so you start pulling on the end and then one of the loops will start moving. Now you don't want to keep pulling, because otherwise that one will close and this one will just make a big loop. So once you see which one is moving, you will take that one and pull it in the same direction as your yarn end, so that the second loop closes. And then we will pull on the end to close that loop, and that just gives a more sturdy start. So at the end of the round you can either join to the top of the beginning chain 3 with a slip stitch, and the easiest way to find out which one it is to count back from your first double crochet. So the loop for that will be to the right of the post, to the left if you're left-handed, so that's the first double crochet, so that will be the top of the chain 3. So you can either join there with a slip stitch, so, or you can use the invisible join, which is what I'm going to do. So to do the invisible join, I'm going to cut my yarn, pull that all the way through, and then thread that onto a needle. So to make the invisible join, I'm not going to join to the first stitch. I'm going to make a fake top for that stitch. So I'll go into the second stitch from front to back into both loops. And then from top to bottom into that last stitch. Then I've got an extra stitch, and then I'm just going to go into that little third loop again, top to bottom, to make a little knot. I can then proceed to work away those ends very well, especially the magic ring end. So once we've done that, we're ready for round 2. And in round 2 we're going to be making the first half of each petal. It'll be a bit weird, so we're going to make the first half of each petal in this round, and then we're going to come back and do the second half of each petal in the next round. So I've joined my marble, my white, and I'll join my yarn by making a slip stitch in any stitch around. Let's just through both loops. Chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to make a slip stitch in the second chain from the hook, so not this chain. Second chain, working through the top loop only. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 6, also only working through one loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Going to slip stitch in one loop only of the last chain, so that will give us half a petal. And then this is where the repeat starts. We will slip stitch into the next stitch, chain 9, slip stitch in the second chain from the hook, one loop only, single crochet in one loop only of the next 6 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, slip stitch in one loop only of the last chain, and that is how you will create each petal around. They're going to curl quite a lot, don't worry about that. We'll fix that later. So I'm going to show you how to make one more, and then I will continue around until I get to the end. So slip stitch in the next stitch through both loops, chain 9, slip stitch in the second chain from the hook, one loop only, single crochet in the next 6 stitches, one loop only, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Slip stitch in one loop only of the last chain. So I'm going to keep doing that until I have made 16 of these little curly whirlies. Right, so I've worked into each of the 16 stitches around. So I've got 16 petals, and it's a bit curly now, but like I said, once you block it, it'll be absolutely straight and beautiful. So now we're going to start round 3, where we will complete each petal, and the repeat starts straight away. So we are going to be making a slip stitch in that both loops of that first chain there. Then we're going to be making a single crochet in the next 6 chains, working through both loops. So there's both remaining loops. There'll be 2 loops. There's a little hole there, you can see. So single crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can see, you can identify them because you can see where the 2 little legs are there. 6. Going to slip stitch in both loops of the last stitch, which already contains a slip stitch. And then if you look at your work, you'll notice that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little holes down the middle of your petal. We're going to make surface slip stitches in those. So to do that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So to do that, you're going to insert your hook into the first hole and pull your yarn all the way through to make a slip stitch. Insert your hook into the next hole, pull all the way through to make a slip stitch. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that's your first petal made. Now we're going to do the next one, same way. If you pull it a bit, you can see that first hole. Slip stitch into that hole, that's the top 2 loops of that first chain, or the remaining 2 loops. Single crochet in the next 6, and oh, it's tricky with all these fiddly bits. You can identify them because you can see the single crochet, the 2 legs of the single crochet going into that one hole. So that will be where you put your hook for the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 single crochets, and then a slip stitch in the last one, which already contains a slip stitch. 5, 6, 7, working down the 7 holes, make a surface slip stitch in each of them. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Fiddly business. So that is, let me just pull up a loop so I can show you. That's your second petal made. So I will repeat this until I've worked into each petal. Be slip stitch in that first stitch through both loops, 6 single crochets through both loops, remaining loops, and then a slip stitch, working surface slip stitch down the 7 holes in the petal. And I'll continue to do that, and then I'll meet you back when I've done all of that. I've now worked into each of the 16 petals, and they are still a bit curly, but we're going to block them in a minute. I'm going to work away my ends, so I've just cut my yarn. Now you can feel free to skip to the blocking bit if you want to, because all I'll be doing now is working away my many ends. Not that many, 4. So to work away this one, I'm just going to go front to back into there. Oh, I just love the pattern this forms. These little holes, so cute. And I'm just going to work my way up into one of the petals. Then backward, skipping one leg just to lock it in place. Probably the other most important one to show is working away into the magic ring, because if you don't do that properly, your ring can come undone. So yarn's coming from this direction, so I'm going to go just a little bit more in the same direction, and then I'm going to reverse, skipping that first leg to lock it in place. Thank you. Good luck. And then reversing back the same way. My husband's just going to pick up a 4-man tent because one of ours is having a sleepover, the middle one, for his birthday. And we don't have space in the house for 4 14-year-olds, so they're going to sleep in the tent in the garden. Tent which we don't have because the rats ate through ours, so he has to pick up a new one. There we go. I'll continue doing that. And then we'll meet up again when I do the blocking. Don't know if you can hear that, but that is our new second-hand MX5 purring away. Ah, she's a beauty. We've called her Jenny. Right, so this looks a little bit sad. We're going to have to block it. Well, I mean, not sad. She's lovely, but we're going to have to block her. You can, of course, wet block, but I'm just going to steam block. Quite like this motif. I'd like to, this flower, I'd like to turn it into a little square if I can, or a mandala even. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that to dry for a little bit, and then we will unpin her and see the result. And there you have it, all done. Look at that. Isn't she cute? There we go. And then this is what she looks like in the bouquet. Hiding a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't have put her with such tall flowers or textured flowers. There you go. Lovely little daisy. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial. I hope you have a wonderful week, and remember you can find the written pattern and chart on my website.